if you've been listening to all our episodes, or most of them, you've probably picked up on this. We every week intend to publish these podcasts on Tuesday and Thursday, but obviously that amounting to twice a week. However, sometimes it's not exactly Tuesday and Thursday. Sometimes it's Tuesday and Friday. Sometimes it's Wednesday and Thursday. Sometimes it's Wednesday and Friday. So just want you to know that we recognize that fact, and we always do the best we can to stay with the original publishing schedule of Tuesday, Thursday. If you don't see an episode on one of those days, you can count on it being a day later, or definitely 2 by the end of the week. So just want to let you guys know that before we go any further, as we put this podcast together for you and look for the best ways to bring you value, sometimes there's a little bit of fluctuation to how quickly we publish that content. But we definitely will always stick to 2 episodes per week unless we say otherwise. So we would definitely let you know if a particular week we did not plan to publish that many times. So with that being said, as more time goes by, we may find ourselves locked in a little bit tighter on Tuesday and Thursday, but just kind of wanted to give you guys a heads up on that and why you're getting this episode on Friday. So all that being said, I had a fairly straightforward and simple episode today that I wanted to kind of drill down and focus on one particular way that you guys, as you do your digital marketing, or as you bring your business's message out to the marketplace, however you intend to do that, one of the ways that you can really find a fairly high degree of effectiveness in terms of the types of content and the types of material that you can grab the attention of your potential prospects, as you vary up your message to them. One of the ways that you can do that that's going to be most effective is through current user testimonials. Okay, so we're talking about people who you have helped, whether they're existing recurring clients, maybe they're a client you worked with one time and you helped them through a particular problem. It doesn't necessarily matter frequency or currency per se, up to the very present date. Maybe it's somebody you worked with in the last year or last couple of years where the results and the approach that you took is still relevant to today. So I wouldn't get too hung up on that. What you're really looking for are people or businesses that can really attest to what you have to offer in a current relevant context. Okay? And basically putting that material out there and showing your prospects and your audience, if you will, at large, that you have done what you're selling to them for other people with good or great results. There's really no message that you're going to put out there that's more powerful than that. Okay, that is going to be your strongest, most appealing message. I mean, no matter how you slice up the features of your product or service, the benefits that it brings to your audience, you can try to vary it up 100 different ways. The best way is always going to be somebody other than you saying to that audience, okay? And again, it could be very general broadcast. I mean, they're not necessarily addressing your audience. They're just kind of talking about their experience. But that demographic, current and past clients, talking about you and what your product or service did for them, there simply isn't going to be anything more compelling than that. Because what we tend to do when we are shopping for products and services is we are looking for validation. We are looking for proof that what the vendor is saying and what the vendor is selling us is true, right? I mean, we're always, it's that buyer beware instinct that we all have in a marketplace. This person is selling me something. This person has something to gain. Who can I listen to, or who can I hear this same message from, who really has nothing to gain from telling me that message? They're not a paid spokesman. They're not getting a kickback or a commission, presumably. I mean, the most suspicious of us may still believe that when we see or hear a user testimonial. But I think most of us understand that when users testify to products and services, unless we're watching like a paid commercial on television or something, but we're just hearing somebody talk about their experience, there's a high degree of veracity to that testimonial. Again, there could be some variance in there, but for the most part, when we as buyers see third parties attesting to these sorts of things, that's what we're basically gathering from that, is that there's real heft to that testimony and that user experience that they're conveying. So, with that being said, I don't think there's a lot more to say to convince you guys that this is the right material to be using, along with other material. It's not the only way you'll advertise or get the word out about your product, but it is one of the ways, and it is, as I said, probably the most powerful way, unless you invent some new approach that the rest of us can copy. This is definitely going to be one of the best ways you can do it. So, all that being said, you say, okay, Chris, well, I'm sold. I definitely want to do testimonials. I definitely want to capture the experience of my current user base. How should I do it? What should it look like? How do I go about it? So, really, without getting into a lot of fancy products or software or tools that you can use, and there is one that I will mention towards the end here, but I'm going to leave it for the end because it's not as important as this part that I'm going to talk about now. It's really not that. It's not some magic tool or piece of software you're going to implement that suddenly makes this easy and really doable for you. It's really a methodology that's the most important thing, and why that methodology is so valuable. Okay? So what I mean by that is this. The most powerful user testimonials are those that look the most real. Those that look the most raw. Okay? So when you have, let's say you go to a website and you see a bunch of textual testimonials on the page, and you see a nice sort of, Photoshop kind of, cleaned up photo of a person, and there's a nice little nifty quote beneath their face. I think we've all seen those websites that have those types of things. When you see that right there kind of starts to tell you that, okay, maybe this testimonial isn't 100% solid. Maybe this is something that just looks good on the page, and the vendor has, decided to present it this way because they think it looks good and it looks clean and it looks visually appealing, and I don't really know if it's actually, I don't know if it's a real person or not. So we've all seen those kind of testimonials that are just very kind of, clean and neat and tidy, and there's just something lacking about them that's just not 100% believable. The best kind of user testimonial, so that's just one example that I'm giving you of which way you don't want to go with this. The kind of user testimonial that's going to get you the most traction 9.5 times out of 10 is, first of all, a video testimonial is the best kind you can get because it's a real, live, talking, living person. Okay, so you can't fake a human being talking in a video. I mean, unless, they're sort of hidden AI robot or something like that. That right off the bat conveys believability because you have a real person talking in real time, okay, within the video, of course. So that's the first step. The second step is that there's no real production value. There's no, green screen. There's no, great lighting, behind the person or something like that. It's really, in all likelihood, as simple as that user turning their cell phone camera towards themselves and just recording a video for a minute or 2 minutes or 3 minutes, whatever they end up doing. And so when we see testimonials like that, we're seeing the highest kind of engagement and return on that piece of investment, that content investment, because it presents the user who's testifying in the most believable setting and context possible. So, just for whatever reason, a person who, is recording a video in a non-glossy production sort of way and is just sort of pouring their heart out, like, hey, I use this product, it changed my life, did this, this, and this, or I use such and such as services, and he or she, fixed this problem for me, and this is the problem I had, and now I don't have that problem anymore. That is going to ring the most true compared to any other kind of testimonial you do, whether it's audio or text, or it's nice and clean on a website, or it's formatted beautifully, or it has a wonderful photograph that was clearly taken by a professional. All those other things are going to pale in comparison to a real person in a real life video that they made themselves, the punch that's going to pack. They're all going to fall short of that. Okay? So basically that's the kind of testimonial you want to get. Now, when you approach, so you say, okay, Chris, all right, I'm sold on testimonials, I'm sold on raw video from the user. How do I get them to do it? That's great. I'd love to have testimonials like that, Chris, but how do I actually get anybody to give me a testimonial like that? So 2 key tactics you can use here, and I think using them in conjunction makes it nearly automatic that you're going to get the testimonial. But if you at least use one of them, I think you get a lot closer to getting a yes from somebody than not. And don't get me wrong, some people are going to flat out say no. They're going to say, I don't want to be used to promote your product. I don't want to take a video of myself. I don't like the way I look on camera. No. Got it. Don't worry about them. The people who may be willing, okay, and who knows? Like, you may ask some people and they're just like, yep, I'll do it. No problem. Yep, here you go. Here's a 2-minute video. No sweat off my back. That's great too, if you can get somebody to do it like that. The people in between, the fence sitters, there's 2 ways that you can move them towards a yes to get yourself a testimonial and get this kind of valuable content onto your platforms. The first tactic is make it as easy as possible for them. So, in other words, first of all, you've removed all the stress of any kind of production. You're just saying, hey, turn your camera around and hit record. So that's easy enough, right? But make it even easier. Give them a list of questions, not a long list. I would say 3 to 5 at the most. Give them like 3 to 5 questions to just answer the question. How did you come across me? Okay, here's how I met so and so, blah blah, business, etc. Okay, what was your problem when you found me? Here was my problem. I did, and so you literally walk them through a series of questions that all they're doing is answering the question. They're just saying, hey, I had this problem. This is what I was facing, blah blah blah. Then I went ahead and I bought XYZ product or XYZ service, and that service did XYZ for me, and here's where I am now. And so if you have a series of 3 or 4 or 5 questions like that are sort of laid out, you've provided them to the person. Say, hey, can you just talk in a video about these questions? And then if the questions appear in the video, you can always edit them out. I think that's probably the best approach, is to not necessarily keep it in an interview sort of format, but really just use the questions as sort of an offline guide for the person. So they can kind of like just follow along on their own and create the video. But you also may find, depending on how you produce it, that you do want to put the question on the screen. Maybe you have it, let's say, run across the bottom of the screen while the person's talking. And then when they switch to the next question, you switch the question at the bottom of the screen, graphically or whatever. But however you do that, whether you include the questions or not, what you are doing is you are guiding the person through a complete testimonial without them even feeling like that's what they're doing. They're really just getting a chance to talk about themselves and their situation, and they're getting a chance to do it in a sort of orderly fashion, one question to the next that sort of logically flow together. And that's how they produce a great piece of content for you. That is the best kind of content. A user, a happy, satisfied user, attesting to the veracity of your claims and your product or your service. Okay? So basically, that's one way you can make it a little easier. If somebody's like, I'd love to do a testimonial I don't really know what to say though. What am I going to say? Well, boom, here you go. Here's 3 questions you can answer that are going to help me promote my business and, kind of get your story told appropriately. Okay? Now, the second way, which may be a little less palatable for you guys, the first one obviously doesn't cost you anything. It just takes a little bit of time, maybe 15 minutes or so, to think about what you want them to answer. But the second way that you can push them over the hump and really start to probably open up a floodgate of testimonials, if you weren't already going to get them, is to actually tie some financial incentive to it. So you could say, listen, you bought my product, for X number of dollars. I would like you to create a video testimonial. When I receive your testimonial, I'm going to credit you back 5%, or I'm going to credit you back 10%. Or maybe it's not a straight up refund. Maybe it's like, hey, you bought product A, But if you do a video testimonial for me, I'm going to add on, whatever product B to your first product. I'll send you this free gift, or I'll tack something on that's sort of ancillary to your original purchase, but it's a token of appreciation for you taking the time to do the video. So whatever you come up with, whatever makes sense for your business, just know that a lot of times people who are sitting on that fence and they just like, I really don't want to make this video, I got better things to do. Throw in something that makes them feel better financially and you will get the video. You will get the testimonial from them that way, okay? So anyway, those are, when you just think about it at a high level, those two tactics are almost always going to, if you use them together, they're almost always going to move somebody off the dime and say, okay, yep, I'll go ahead and shoot you a 2-minute video. Makes sense. I don't have to think that hard because you gave me the questions and you're rewarding me with something financial in nature. So great, I'd be happy to do it. Okay, so once you do those things, once you apply those incentives and those mechanisms, and you start getting all kinds of videos coming in, now what you're doing is you're simply trimming up production to make them, just make sure that there's nothing extraneous in there that shouldn't be there. You don't have to do anything else to it. You don't have to spend lots of money reproducing the whole thing. Just make sure that what you do have is appropriate for publication and it makes sense to you and it would make sense to your users or to your audience. And then just start posting them on your website. Like literally have a page that includes or is all about user testimonials, and you just put them up on the page. Just literally, a slew of them, one after another, just going down the video, okay? Now, what's great is if you have a product or service that kind of has different aspects to it, okay, then you can kind of say like, hey, check out client so-and-so, how we solved their problem on X by doing Y. And then boom, that's the testimonial. So for example, if let's say you're a tax preparer, you could say, check out client Smith, who, needed their Form 1120S completed for their tax return and how we did it for them. Boom, there's the testimonial. Okay, check out client Y and how we caught up their bookkeeping after 5 years of not doing their books. Boom, now you have a testimonial that goes to your bookkeeping. So, you may do it that way, like taxes, bookkeeping, accounting, payroll, etc. Or maybe it's a weight loss program. We changed this person's diet. We got this person exercising more regularly. We got this person running more whatever the case might be, there are different aspects and elements to your program or your product that you can feature based on the testimonial you get. You can guide your clients to speak to that, or they may just do it organically and then you can sort it out. So you just take the ones, I got a couple of clients here talking about tax returns, boom, they go in this pile. I got a couple over here talking about bookkeeping, boom, those go in a second pile. And now you kind of sort them out when you put them on your website. Okay? Now, once you've done all this, you've got testimonials, they're raw, they're believable, they comport with everything I just talked about, there's so much else you can do with them. I mean, the number one thing you do is you put them on your website and boom, everybody's seeing that stuff when they come in and check out your service or your product. But it doesn't stop there. Those testimonials now can be used not only on your website statically, but you can now post them as social media content, one by one. You can mash them all up, like, hey, check out all our satisfied tax clients, and maybe you have 5 or 6 strung together. You can literally take what's called a supercut of all your testimonials, or as many of them as you can reasonably stitch together, and you can literally run an ad against it. So you can take a social media ad, let's say on Facebook, that then brings up, the person hits your ad, they're watching it, and all of a sudden it's one client after another attesting to how good your product or service is. And so you then use these testimonials not just statically on, let's say, a landing page of your website, but now you're actively pushing those testimonials out there and putting them in front of people who are seeing them in their social media feeds as ads. So they're coming across it on Instagram, they're coming across it on Facebook, they're coming across it on TikTok, whatever the case might be. Okay, so the real key point here, without getting into a lot of detail, I mean, we can definitely do this in another episode, talk even more granular about how to repurpose your testimonials. But the point is they can be repurposed. And once you have them, they're like each one is a golden nugget, okay, that can achieve so many different things for you. You can put it in an email newsletter. You can use it to sway a prospect who's on the fence. Like, hey, you're not sure if this is for you? Check out 4 or 5 other people who are in your boat that we helped. And they literally, like, these videos become like automatic advocates for your business. Okay? So you can just kind of use them in so many different flexible, varied sorts of ways. It just becomes super, super powerful for getting your message out there and for adding to your own voice. Okay, again, it's not you selling the product necessarily. It's your customers, your current customers or past clients selling your services for you. So, huge, huge point there, and huge added advantage that you bring into your business by having that kind of material handy. Okay, so I actually think that'd be a great future episode as we can get more specific and more tactical on, let's say, exact ways you can take a testimonial or a set of testimonials and utilize them in a social media context, deployment-wise, ads-wise, things like that. So we'll kind of earmark that for a future episode. But for now, guys, just take away from this episode that capturing testimonials and using 2 methods to do it, for anybody who's on the fence in particular, leading them through sort of a questionnaire of sorts, and then adding some financial incentive or a rebate or refund, whatever you want to call it, will often get that testimonial nailed down for you. Okay? So, appreciate you guys listening. We'll be back next week with 2 more episodes. We've got 26 and 27 lined up for you guys next week. Super excited to keep getting into the new year here and into some new material for you guys. Check us out over on Facebook and on LinkedIn. Our YouTube channel as well. You actually can find these podcasts in sort of visual format on the YouTube channel for Transform. And of course, here on the podcast, would absolutely appreciate it if you guys like the episode, share the episode, and subscribe to the channel. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and sign off, guys. Hope everybody has a great weekend. I guess last weekend was the first weekend of 2022. So second weekend of 2022. Excited to come back around to you guys next week with new episodes. This is Christopher Anastasio signing off, and we'll talk to you guys soon. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.